I had always assumed that once you got to mile 90 in a 100-mile race, that the last 10 miles were relatively certain. You've made it that far, it seems like mentally it wouldn't be that much of a hurdle to just keep going for another couple hours, even if physically you're breaking down. I believed this until I dropped out at mile 88 of my first 100-mile attempt. My name is Carson, and today I'm just going to do a little sit down story time with you about my very first time attempting to run 100 miles. On September 21st, I set out at the Wild Goose Trail Festival up in New Jersey, doing their 36-hour event. It's put on by Sasquatch trail runners, and it was an amazing event. And I quit at mile 88 with still time left on the clock, right? And so here's kind of all that went into that. It was a really intriguing experience. It still feels kind of surreal that I even went that far. And I've got a lot of reflections and a lot of like silly stories over the course of the 30 some hours that I was out there. So I'm not from New Jersey. I'm from Virginia. But I picked the event because it seemed like it would be really fun. It had a lot of like good vibes. And also, like, I thought that 36 hours would be a pretty reasonable time limit for my goal of hitting 100 miles. And so the Friday before the event, I drove up with two of the friends of mine who would be crewing me and a little bit pacing me. Shout out to them, because it would have been immensely worse without them on my side, for sure. So we drove up on Friday and we camped out by the race course. And then Saturday morning, I kind of wake up. My friends are going to sleep in a little bit. I wake up and I'm getting myself ready. And it was, first of all, really interesting. I had been really neurotic about the race for like 6 weeks beforehand. I totally fell off my training plan 6 weeks before the race happened because of a ankle injury that I got while trying to evacuate someone from the backcountry. And so I was freaking out about my ankle. And so I kind of was like, at this point, like, I got to rest it. And so I kind of fell off my training plan almost completely 6 weeks beforehand. And it still felt slightly weird. It wasn't horrible, but it would feel weird even walking on it. It just felt a little off. And so I was like, I can't do anything. Like, let's just hope this goes decently. But like, I had pretty low expectations going into it. I had had a really solid training block before that, the best training I've ever done, which isn't saying much because I really haven't been running for long. I can make a story time about my running timeline maybe some other time. But then I was just totally off the wagon, and I had kind of told my friends, I was like, hey, look, I'm still going to go because I'm signed up and I want to throw everything I have at the wall and see what sticks. But like, if my ankle flares up, there's a chance I'm dropping at mile 30. Like, I really don't know how this is going to go. And so I had been really freaking out about it, really neurotic about it for like that whole 6 week time period. And then I wake up the morning of, and it's just this immense, like, quietness that is washing over me. It was a really nice hour or so that I was getting ready. We were on the lake, the sun was rising, and I think the quietness and the calmness just came from a like profound understanding of the acceptance of what I was about to do or about to try to do. You get to the morning of the event and there is truly nothing else you can do. And you kind of have to surrender yourself to the effort that you're about to undertake. And that's a really weird feeling. So anyway, I get myself ready, and before you know it, I've got glitter on my face and I'm on the start line ready to go with a bit of trepidation in my heart. And then we're off. The first several hours, you're trying to just like set into a really comfortable pace. I was trying to talk to some people in the beginning so that I would kind of know people later on. It was a looped course, so there were 3 different loops that all went out from this main area, all ranging from 5 to 8 miles. And so you would see people pretty frequently, or at least you would see them, along the course of the event. Also, there were a bunch of different events. So some people were doing 50K, 50 miler, 100K, 100 miler, 12 hour, 36 hour. There were a few other shorter distances on the second day, but like, and some of those people were starting on different loops. So truly you would see like a fair amount of different folks throughout the event. So I was trying to kind of like chat with some people, and also like give it a little while until I like totally locked in with my music. Because after I feel like I've started playing music, there's no going back. And I was feeling pretty good. I was still really like concerned about how my ankle would play out. I got to about mile 30 and I started getting really frustrated because I kept being really clumsy and tripping on rocks, kicking a lot of rocks. And I was getting really like mentally frustrated with that. So when I came into the aid station, I took off my socks and shoes, and I had decided that for at least for a little while, I was just going to hike. I wasn't even going to try to run, because I didn't want to mentally burn myself out by trying to run and getting frustrated with kicking rocks. So I traded and swapped for my hiking shoes, my hiking socks, and also my trekking poles. And in the process, I noticed one of my toenails was purple. I had never had a bruised toenail before. So I was like, oh, damn, like, all right. And I started walking, and thankfully that really helped me out. I totally immediately noticed a difference in kind of my mental ability to stay with it. And also, I was still able to keep up like a 4 mile an hour pace, or I should say 4 mile an hour moving pace, not including like stopping at aid stations, but 4 mile an hour moving pace for a long time, like up until mile 70. And so that, like, the cost benefit of deciding to literally just start hiking and not try to run at all was really good for me. I didn't end up running any of the rest of the race after 30 miles. I walked the rest to the 88 miles that I ended up quitting at. But after that point, things were pretty smooth. My next low was as it became nighttime. I've never done anything going into the night. Prior to this, the longest I had done was a 50-mile race. And also I have a early bedtime in normal life. I go to bed at like 8 p.m. So that is to say I'm going to get tired pretty quickly in the night. And so probably around like 11ish, I started to get really grumpy and tired. Or it might have even been 10, I don't know. Sometime around there, I get really tired and I say, hey, like, I need to try to sleep. I try to sleep for 40 minutes. It doesn't work at all. I don't fall asleep at all. I get up, do another lap, and I still feel really bad. And I said to my crew, I said, hey, this might be a stupid decision because it didn't work last time, but like, I think I have to try to sleep for another like hour. And I know that folks say that you don't need sleep if it's less than 48 hours. I think that's really hard to do as someone who's like getting into the overnight distances. I don't know, like I understand physiologically that like that makes sense, but there's also a weird aspect of trying to keep yourself mentally like as satisfied as you can reasonably do while still doing the event. And so, I was like, this might be dumb, but I'm going to do it. I did sleep the whole hour and I chugged a Red Bull, and then I was on top of the world again. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to get the 100. Like, nothing can stop me, which was really interesting because I always hear people say things about like you go into these low lows and then you come out of them and you have high highs. And I never really believed it because I hadn't experienced that in my previous ultras. You get low and then you just get lower. And also, it's like, how could you have a high at mile 60 something? Like, that sounds odd, but it was really cool to like experience that firsthand. My friend Finn paced me for a couple of laps. I had really good playlists. The night is always odd. I didn't see many people during the night. One of the people I saw, I walk up on this guy who's sitting in the middle of this bridge, and I'm like, hey man, like, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm just taking a break. And I'm like, all right, take care of yourself. And you just move on. It's just like it's such a surreal experience to be doing an ultra that goes through the night to the next day. I still just like can't really wrap my head around it. But anyway, I was doing relatively well. My ankle, well, at the point of like mile 40, I had a lot more confidence in, oh, my ankle is literally going to be fine. Like it didn't hurt at all, which was amazing. And also annoyed me because I had been freaking out about it for 6 weeks. I was relatively fine. Um, I felt good, actually, I would say, up until mile 80. And that is to say, not good, but as not good as I expected for an ultra. Like, it felt like any pain was proportional. It felt like things made sense to what I was doing. So I would consider that I felt good, um, because I felt better than I expected. And then I hit mile 80. And it was really strange. It was as I was starting a new lap, and it was not instantaneous, but like really quickly, that I went from like, oh, I'm experiencing pain that makes sense, to like, holy crap, like I don't know if I can deal with this pain. Um, and I went from like keeping up a 4 mile an hour moving pace to like struggling to keep a 2 mile an hour moving pace. And it kind of started as I started that lap. And so that whole lap took me a lot longer than I expected and was so painful. And I was taking breaks, and there were a lot of people who were passing me going, hey, like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you have food? Do you have water? Do you want me to walk with you? Like, apparently, I looked in bad shape. And it was really odd because I still maintain I don't think that there was anything medically wrong with me, other than like, maybe some slight things like dehydration. I mean, I was pretty on top of my hydration, but it's hard to not be like a little dehydrated during any ultra, I would maintain. Um, but it was just like a lot of pain, and I don't know if I had the mental strategies to deal with that. I had tried to kind of like have like build up those mental strategies in training. And ultimately, when I got into the aid station, and I had, according to my watch, I had like 87 or 88 miles. According to the race, I had 85 and a half. But when I got to that point, I decided that I couldn't make myself start another lap. It was probably around hour 30. So like I plausibly could have gotten to 100 miles, maybe. It was kind of up in the air. Um, but I decided that I couldn't mentally make myself start another lap, and that's when I quit. It was weird because right after I quit, and my crew tried to make me not quit, and I kind of was like, no, you can't stop me, and then I quit. Um, and then, right afterwards, you're just like, thank God I'm done. Like, I'm so glad that I don't have to be doing that. And then even half a day later, you're like, I could have kept going. And it's pretty saddening. it it's a strange balance of like understanding that you've done something kind of crazy and, I guess, objectively impressive, but like I don't really consider it that. And also this like, I feel like I had more. And you only ever feel like you have more after you've already quit, after determining that you did not have any more. And I think maybe it's just that we like always ask more of ourselves. So it was a really odd like couple of weeks afterwards where I was feeling kind of low about it. Um, and then a little later, a couple months later, you're like, that's how it went. And like, hopefully someday I will have 100-mile finish. Um, but like, that's how it went for now. And like, there's nothing I can change about it now. So it was a really interesting experience for me. I was really objectively on top of things. My hydration and nutrition were really great. The aid station was amazing. Their pierogies, oh my gosh, so good. Um, and like, I think that my race choices, while they might not be what everyone would choose, such as the deciding to walk the vast majority of it, as well as deciding to take a sleep break even when the first one didn't work, and longer than a lot of people would, even though those might not be like options that other people would recommend or choose, I think that they worked for me. And so I think that I was decent at knowing what I needed in that moment. um, and yeah, first of all, if you are thinking about signing up for, if you're in the area of like New Jersey-ish and thinking about signing up for a Sasquatch Trail Runners event, I highly recommend it. It was really awesome. The people there were awesome. The race director is awesome. The vibes were very Bigfoot, unicorn, alien, great. There were a few smaller swag items I got, but the main ones were, this is my finisher's medal. They hand make all of these wooden medals, and it's really cool. And then I got this mug that I love. It's like sparkly. It's just great. And then I got a belt buckle. So they gave out belt buckles for 100K and 100 miles. So even though I didn't get the 100-mile distance, I still got to pick out a 100K belt buckle. And they're all like handcrafted. So they all had different designs, which is really awesome. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I had to share about that experience. I think I will make a video on my running journey. I've only, spoiler alert, I've only been running for like 2.5 years. So it's really been a crazy journey leading up to this most recent race, in which I attempted 100 miles and made it 88 and then quit. So I had heard people say, if you've never tried the 100-mile distance, you would never understand why someone would quit at mile 90. And I didn't understand why someone would quit at mile 90 until this experience. Thanks for watching.